Welcome to a special episode of the Radio Beaver podcast. We are doing this because, well, we should have been at Concord in Essex, next to the caravan park, in the cold and wet, watching Hampton and Richmond Borough play Concord Rangers. Unfortunately, the weather had other ideas, so I thought I'd get Dean and Jules, who have been trying to get on here for a while, to be fair, but for various reasons, wanted to make sure it was the best time. And given where we are in the season, it's probably as good a time as any, even though if we're not quite sure exactly what's happening. As always, keep an eye on the social media and stuff like that. I'm sure news will be coming out over the next few days, or hopefully it will be coming out. But Jules and Dino, thanks very much for joining us. We'd rather be stood in a field, cold and wet in the middle of Essex, wouldn't you?
100%, mate, 100%. And the older you get, the more you want to play, if that makes sense. And there's something that's definitely been evident to me the last few years, maybe 10, 15 years ago. You have a cold or a slight injury, gaffer, I'm struggling today. But now, as you get older, you realise every game is more and more important. And obviously now with the situation we find ourselves in, it possibly could have been our last game. I don't know. So you want to play. Do you know what I mean? You do want to play, but it is what it is, Seb.
Yeah, exactly. And Dean, obviously, as you've mentioned a number of times on social media or in interviews, you are a little bit younger than Jules, obviously, but at the same time, you are the other side of 30.
Age is just a number, Seb.
Yeah, no, exactly. But do you feel that a little bit as well? Because you obviously have had such a long career already, but does it start to feel like, it's annoying that you're missing these games?
Yeah, like you say, it's one of them where during the season, you're just so accustomed to playing and training on a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Sometimes if you're feeling like you've got a few knocks in that, sometimes the odd game off, you think to yourself, that's come at a good time. You can kind of like recover and get yourself fresh for the next game. But Jules said, in the time we're in now, it could have been the last game that we all played together this season. So yeah, it is just frustrating. It's been the league's just a mess this year. It's just like you see teams playing like under 23s, and I think Tunbridge come out today and said that they're going to be doing the same. Yeah, Fulham and their players and playing under 23s. So it's just a bit of a mess at the minute. And it's come as second year in a row where we're in a very strong position. So it's frustrating.
It's frustration, I think, and Gary mentioned the word despondency a lot the other day with the chat, and the fans feel it, Gary feels it, Jax feels it, the board feels it, but obviously you guys feel it as well, because you've put so much into this season already. I know we're only 17, 18 games in technically, but we forget that there was almost 2 lots of pre-season, wasn't there? Just looking at the pictures earlier on of pre-season, it seems a long time ago. All those players have put a lot in already to this season, haven't you? That must make it harder.
You pick up a few injuries along the way, and all the kind of like the pain and the Mark's running. He put us through our paces a lot, he did. And it's not for nothing, obviously. It puts us in good stead for next year, and I'm sure Gaff will look to try and put on a little pre-season again like he did last year. But yeah, it's just frustrating because I was saying, like, me and Jules talk a lot aside from football, and like we say, like, there's no momentum this year. Like, you just can't pick up any momentum. It's just really frustrating.
The clean sheets and the stats don't lie. Is that again frustrating that you've come into Hampton, you've made a big impact, but you're just not able to keep it going essentially?
Yeah, I personally put a lot in to getting myself, my body in a condition to do as well as I possibly could this year. That's just a personal level. Do you know what I mean? I really did work hard, Seb. And aside from the personal level, you see what a lot of people have done. A lot of the lads have done the work we've done pre-season, the pre-season. The boys were ready for it. We really were ready for it. And on a football reason alone, without touching on all the financial aspects of it, on a football reason alone, it's a really hard one to take for me personally, because I felt I've been lucky enough to have had 4 promotions, Seb, and I see a lot of similarities in this group as the groups that I've been promoted with in the past. Yeah. A great dressing room, good team spirit, lads willing to fight for each other, good quality, good management team. I could go on. So it is really hard. But like Dean said, it is what it is. You take a lot of knocks in football. Yeah. Some are self-inflicted, others are not. This one isn't. It's nothing we could have done. But we look to next season and hopefully we'll be even in a more stronger position.
Yeah. And I suppose there was even a debate whether the season would start. But do you think as players, once you do start, players do the things that the volunteers and the fans do it, the boards work it all out. that then 3 months in, we're suddenly back to square one. I can't imagine what it's like for you guys training twice a week. And I suppose the elephant in the room is you guys are classed as elite footballers, aren't you? Obviously, Dean, you've mentioned it before. And Jules, you've mentioned, I think as well, you're getting in at 2 o'clock in the morning from Chippenham and then you're going to work the next day. It's not quite fair, is it?
Well, do you know what, Seb? Like, and a lot of people have had a lot of opinions on it. We are classed as elite footballers. Whether we agree with that or whether we don't, that is how it is.
Yeah.
The way this has been ran is just unbelievable.
Yeah,
it really is. I appreciate we're not in the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? But we're a decent level of football, and the way this has been handled is unbelievable.
Yeah.
If it stopped for health reasons, no problem with that, Seb. Absolutely fine. But for this reason, it's a hard one to take.
How did you feel that you guys, whilst you are elite footballers and you're preparing as best you can 2 training sessions a week and keeping yourself in check, was it a bit strange not to be tested or anything like that?
Like you say, we can be as careful as we possibly can be. And Phil's done great, to be fair. He's been absolutely brilliant. He's been quite strict with it. And Jules do this and do that. He's been on it to make sure we're doing the right things. And that's also another aspect of the season being cancelled. Like, every single one of these players has gone out and put their health at risk for what now, Seb?
Yeah.
For what? It's a waste of money. It's a waste of, listen, mate.
Yeah.
As you can tell, I'm frustrated with that one.
I think that's the thing. I get to see it a lot more than the most, obviously, especially this season, because fans aren't allowed in, and fans ordinarily could come to Bedfont on a Thursday night if they really wanted to. No one's going to turn them away, are they? I get to see the efforts that you put in, and obviously, Dean, the players that have got jobs as well. It's been a harder balance than ever, I imagine, is it, Dean, to fit all these things and to, like you said, maybe put your health at risk a little bit.
Yeah, not only that, like Jules says, we go in and putting ourselves at risk. So one of the boys went into football, ended up catching COVID from football and couldn't go to work. He's then losing income from his job now and has to sit at home and isolate for 2 weeks. It is so frustrating. It just seems that the league was so naive and short-sighted and thought, right, we'll give them the grant for 3 months. Fans will be allowed back in after that and all be fine. And that just seems the way they've gone about it. And it got worse rather than better. The league just stood there and done nothing. They didn't communicate well. And it summed it up. They had to turn their comments off on Twitter so no one could actually tell them what they thought of them. And it's just been so frustrating.
You've been there and done it, so to speak, in non-league football, and you've got, I know that especially National League South players, and you see this a lot more maybe without the fans there, you see the players talking to each other and mates. You've got mates in other teams and opposition. Obviously, when it comes to it, you get stuck in. But is that a general feeling? Do all players feel a bit let down by what's happened? Not just Hampton ones. Yeah,
I think they do. Like you say, Seb, when you've played football for as long as I have, and people keep reminding me of my age, you make friends and acquaintances along the way. And quite a few different WhatsApp groups with lads, and we're all pretty much in the same boat as to what is going on. Yeah. You know me, Seb, like, football's my life. I love the game, and coming and playing. It was something in these times that gave me something really to look forward to on a Saturday. You know, I'd be in the front room at home and start talking to my wife. I'd tell her, we've got Chelmsford away Saturday. Like, if we win there, we go here and we're 2 points away. And she's probably thinking, crikey, it's only Wednesday. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it was one of them. It did give me that little bit of light at the end of the tunnel to look forward to on a weekend on a Tuesday night. And I think a lot of the boys are the same in these circumstances.
Yeah, and obviously we spoke to Jax and Gary obviously on Saturday. Jax said it was hard to stand there in front of the players and say, this is what we're doing for good reasons, but he found that extremely hard. And Gary said it was quite an emotional moment. I think, does that sort of show how much the players were invested in it? Because I think it's hard for people not involved in that circle to see how much the players have invested this season.
Yeah, and I think if you asked every single one of the players that was stood listening to Jax, everyone would have understood the decision that the club's come to. Because at the end of the day, like, I think Jules said it on the night to one of the guys, like, players move on, but the club will always be there. And if the club's in disarray, then it affects everything long term down the line. So it was a sensible decision from the club, as hard as it it would have been, especially with the position we're in. It's an understandable one, and I don't think one player will say any different. It's just one of them where I like to go off. The majority can't be wrong. If you look on Twitter and social media, everyone, no matter what club you're at, has had something to say against the National League about how they've dealt with the situation. And it's been nothing short of a shambles how they've dealt with it. I don't know how they're going to gain the trust, but I think they've lost a lot of trust from a lot of people through this situation. It should have been dealt with so much better than what it was. And even if they're making the decision that they've had, the communication was just so poor. We had that meeting on Thursday and we all said our goodbyes as if to see you in a few weeks or once the league gets cancelled or whatever. And then we get told we've got to go Concord Rangers away on Tuesday night. And we're like, what's going on here? Like, because the league have come out and said, we have to fulfill your fixture, otherwise we'll send you a fine through the post. It's just, it's shambles, really.
It is. It's not ideal, that's for sure. But I suppose trying to look at the positives, Jules, what's been your most enjoyable moment of the season to date?
Just picking up on what you said there, Seb, I think it's important that we do focus on that. We're all very disappointed, but we look forward. I think it's important we do that. It's easy to look back, but we can't control that now. And as a football club, we do need to look forward, and hopefully we can achieve something next season. So that's important what you said, Matt. I just wanted to pick up on that. My most memorable game, Seb.
Is it Boxing Day?
Do you know what? That personally, that was probably my best game. But my most memorable game, I think it was around the time we played Oldham in the Cup, Hungerford away, Chelmsford away. That was the first time when I really felt we've got something. We've got something here. We can definitely. I believed it pre-season and the first few games, but then I started to just really feel it. So around that sort of time, that was my most memorable time because it got me excited. I thought, here we go. We can do something this year. This group.
Yeah, it was a good week, that one, actually, wasn't it? And the Hungerford performance, you're right. That was a hell of a performance. And again, another clean sheet and very symptomatic of what we've done this season. But Dean, what's been your favourite moment of the season?
Probably, I'd probably go with either Oldham in the FA Cup or the clearance against Dorking away.
That was pretty special. As someone, I think in the commentary I'd gone, well, they've scored, and then literally, oh my goodness. But
I actually said to Alfie Rutherford when we played on the next game, I said, I can't believe you ran off telling the linesman that went in trying to get a goal. When I saw it back, I see him screaming at linesman saying it's gone in. I said to him, not a chance to that.
Credit where it's due. I played a lot of games with Dino, and to be fair to him, he does get behind me and cover me, to be fair. He's got that habit of doing that. That is one of...
Because I know what you like.
In my career, mate, listen, I'm going to give you a little bit of credit here, Dino. That is one of the best clearances I've ever seen. That was unbelievable.
To get it out from under the bar.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen that? It's just gone in, hasn't it? And that's fine. You go, okay, fair enough. But it was pretty good. I'm not just saying that because Dean's there. I genuinely was like... Yeah, but that was a good result, wasn't it, that Dorking one? And then to take a point off them at home as well. Because I think, in my opinion, do you think Dorking are the best side that we've played this season?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
I do. There's a few clubs we haven't played, but I can't see many people being better than Dorking. Mark's put a very good, strong squad together, and they played very good football. And even on our pitch that wasn't the best, they still had us running, chasing shadows for a lot of the game. And and Gaffer's always said to us, if you finish above Dorking, you'll probably win the league. Yeah. He said that to us on a few occasions. So, to take 4 points off them was a big kind of like marker to the other teams in the league for us.
Yeah, definitely. No, exactly. And Dean, you've obviously been part of Hampton at various stages and you've played against them as well. Would you agree that this is one of the strongest, if not the strongest Hampton team there has been for a while?
Yeah, you've got to look back at one of the best Hampton teams that I look back on is probably the days of Matt Lovett, Dean Wells, Craig Tanner, Barry Matthews, Ian Hodges, that kind of era, when I think they got back-to-back playoffs as well, didn't they? They lost to Hazelmead in the player final, and then they lost to Eastbourne away in the player final. And I was in and around it as a 16-year-old then, like just travelling with the squad and on the bench or whatever with Dev. That was a very good squad. But this certainly, it has the potential to be up there. And like Jules says, it's quite frustrating because in the camp And looking at the other teams in the league, it's something could have been achieved this year.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jules, I know, I'm not trying to blow smoke up your asses or the players' asses, but you've been in football a long time. I've seen football in various guises and seen teams and stuff like that. It's no exaggeration to say that there's a very good team spirit in that dressing room, isn't there? A very good team spirit that plays a big part.
100%.
It's easy to say. It's not a cliche, is it? I'm not just making that up and trying to put something that isn't there.
No, 100%, Seb. We've played, in my opinion, most of the top teams in the league, and we find ourselves 6th. And I felt, listen, people talk, maybe it's just the way I am, but people talk playoffs and all that kind of stuff. I was thinking we could maybe go one better than that and maybe win it. But and the team spirit was a big part of that. Yes, like I'm repeating myself, we've got quality in that team without a shadow of a doubt. There's a lot of quality in it. There really is a real feel of, if your mate gets beat or falls over, makes a mistake, you really want to help him out. You always go onto the pitch to do your best. But here it's that like, he's made a mistake, I'm going to get him out of trouble here. Do you know what I mean? There really is that feel here. Like Dino at Dorking, we can touch about it, but that happens all over the pitch, Seb.
Yeah.
When someone gets kicked or in a bit of trouble, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the lads round, we're a really together group, really are. And that goes a long way. Yeah.
And of course, we don't know what is going to happen over the next few months. I know that Gary has mentioned already that the intention is to keep as many people as possible. We've done so well. It's no secret that the bigger clubs in our league, the Dorkings and people like that, or the Havants and stuff, and even clubs above will be looking rightly at the players involved. But hopefully, fingers crossed, we can keep as many as possible. But on that subject about like always backing each other up and stuff like that, when Dean tackled Danny Mills against Dulwich, were you a bit like, what are you playing at?
To be fair, right?
Sorry, Dean, that was one of the questions I have to,
You know what? I knew it was coming.
It was a great tackle, to be fair, but I was just like, just let Jules deal with that. But yes, I know it's heat in the moment and it's very easy for me to say.
When he did that, I always say to Dino and to defenders I play with, I always say, trust me to make a save, because if you give away a penalty, that's difficult, right? Yeah. Trust me to do my job. I always say that. But when Dino did that in the match, we're talking when it happened, I thought, that's actually quite clever, Dino, to be fair, because he's outside the box. We've got a covering defender. He's given away a free kick, yellow card. We can, reshape and deal with a free kick. And all of a sudden the refs send him off. And listen, watching it back on the video, is he the last man? We can debate that. But like I say, in the moment, I thought it was quite clever. Maybe not. And listen, I very rarely say Dean has been clever.
Yeah. I mean, I know. Yeah. Although they did score from the resulting free kick, didn't they?
Yeah.
That was probably something. I think you were as frustrated as anyone, Jules. Obviously, again, for those people that aren't or haven't been able to make it to games for one big reason, COVID, but. You hear everything. You hear so much more. You obviously hear Gary. That's the first person you hear. And you can hear him on radio commentary and stuff.
But Jules shouting my name, wasn't he?
Yeah. Jules, yeah. At least Ryan's gone now. At least, we used to be just Ryan. But to be fair, to hear Jules, and I think that's the secret of our success a little bit, your organisational strength, Jules. But I do remember that goal, Dulwich going in, and it was just, and to then concede the free kick and then to concede from the goal. But that was a bit weird, actually. And actually, one of the questions that people asked, I know football's not an exact science by any stretch, but we have won 7 out of 8 games away and not been obviously as prolific at home. Can you put your finger on that, or is that just football, Dean?
It's hard because a lot of our success has come on the 4G pitches away from home. I think the way we play as a team, that suits us, that surface. You look at Oxford, Billericay, them performances were just phenomenal away performances. And then Hemel in the FA Cup. So, it's hard because the pitch was getting heavy at Hampton. And, it levelled the playing field in the sense that our players are more flair players found it a bit more difficult in the home games. And that's the only real thing I can think of.
Yeah. Jules, as a goalkeeper, what do you think of 4G pitches? Just as a goalkeeper, you had the best performance of the season, arguably, against Dorkings. Would you prefer to play on grass or that bothered?
To be fair, if it's a good grass pitch, then grass. At our level of football, I think the 4Gs, it's nice when you're going away to a Dorking, an Oxford, it's going to be flat. The bounce is going to be true. You haven't got to worry about it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think at this level of football, it's a good way to go, really. And Dino says we've been very good on it. Some of the football we played at Billericay was...
Oh, it was brilliant.
Listen, I know a few of the lads there, they were saying, like, every time you got the ball, we felt you were going to score. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And to be fair, we pretty much did, didn't we? We did well that day. But yeah, it's... When I started, we had AstroTurf with sand on it. It's not like that anymore, mate. The 4Gs are all right.
Exactly. Yeah, who knows? One day, maybe Hampton and Richmond Borough will have a 4G pitch. I think that's the way the league's going, because obviously Havant did it last year, Hemel did it last year. More teams are doing it, aren't they? So I think it's only right. Dean, just to ask you, and you played with Jules for a number of years. The thing that struck me the most is, despite Jules being, I don't know, we keep saying, and we all mention it, and I've just mentioned it, but do you think Jules is getting better with age? Or he will be very good?
Think about your answer, mate.
Yeah, it's all right. To be fair, we have a private joke, and every time something happens, I'll send him a gif of a cat like flying through the air or something. And it's become like a running joke now. Everything that comes up, whether it's like, no matter what it is, there's always a cat gif getting flown about. But no, like we say in training, like he flies around like he's still 20 years of age.
Yeah, I remember that in pre-season. It was how hard were those pitches just outside Bedfont? I don't think anyone had played on it all summer, and there wasn't much grass on it. And Jules was all over the place. Obviously, one of the questions mentioned your little dink on him, Dean, which I know that you wouldn't have forgotten. But yeah, I think, again, to give an insight to people and to fans, is the competitive nature runs throughout training, doesn't it? Every training session is important. Gary's not going to let you sort of glide through, is he?
No, he always wants the tempo to be there, and he's always insisting it's at match pace. And at training, on that day where Tom was taking pictures, I just do what I do best against Jules, really. I just put one past him. But just on this occasion, I happened to just, I don't know, I looked down and he was just sat down tying his shoelaces up after I dinked him. I'm not too sure what he was doing. But also to note, Seb, I've got a 100% record against our good friend Alan.
You know what, I was going to be my next question. How have you fared against each other when you've played each other? Yeah.
Played against each other twice. I've scored twice.
Oh, do you have? Oh, crap.
Hold on, I've just got to get a little... That goal last year for Hampton at Billericay is a funny story, right?
Yeah.
Because I've seen him rise and head it, and he's a good header. And I have give everything, because I'm thinking I can't let him score past me. It was a great save. Absolutely
great save.
And I've tipped it onto the post, and I thought, brilliant. And obviously the pitch at Billericay last year wasn't the 4G, it was grass, and it was a bad pitch, just to say the least. And the ball was just landed in a puddle about 2 yards away from me. And all I've heard behind me is splash. And I know it's him running. I know it's him behind me. And I couldn't get up quick enough. And my face is just in the mud as he's jumped over me and smashed it into the net. And to see him, number 4, number 5, just run off with his Adidas boots on was horrible, because I knew what was coming. It was message after message for weeks and weeks after that, mate.
Yeah. You weren't giving each other a lift at that point, were you? Or were you?
No. Even if I was, I'd have made him walk home.
Yeah.
It was actually the anniversary, Seb.
What's that?
I sent Jules a picture the other day. It come up on my Facebook. It was the anniversary. 6 years of when I first scored against him for Hayes and against Bromley.
Jules, now a chance to get your own back, really. I think it was something that I mentioned earlier on. What's the biggest bollocking you've given Dean? And maybe not necessarily at Hampton, but,
You know what? Right, listen, Dean's been a fantastic defender in front of me. He really has. And I've loved playing behind him, and I've loved travelling in with him and being a friend with him. And when we was travelling in at Billericay, our pitch, as I say, was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. So we were playing a game one night, and the journey to Billericay on a Tuesday night is probably about an hour and 45 minutes with traffic. For an hour and 44 minutes of that journey, I'm telling Dino, do not give me a back pass straight down the middle of the goal. I said, pass it to the side, because if it bobbles over my foot, at least it goes off for a corner rather than a goal. So honestly, Seb, I'm telling him, don't pass it down the middle. We get out there, I'm telling him in the dressing room, like before the game, Dino, why did they go out? All right, no problem, Jules, no problem. First minute of the game, kick off. He turns around, passes it straight back to me, bobbling all over the place.
Yeah.
So I have lost my head. I thought, I've just told him for 2 hours not to do that.
Yeah.
I've really screamed at him. I've got a few inboxes after the game from managers that are at the game saying, "Crikey, I hope you don't talk to your defenders like that every week." I thought,
what you said, I imagine, but yeah.
It's done us then.
Yeah. Dean, you didn't do it on purpose, did you? It sounds like something you take it very seriously, but it does sound something very funny. But
yeah, I thought I'd just do it for a laugh. He said it was I just mind him.
He just gave me the hand up. He just went, sorry, John.
Yeah. But let me tell you, I never done it again after that.
No, exactly. This is right. I'm going to ask you both of this. Actually, who do you think is the most underrated player in the Beavers squad?
It's a tough question. I actually saw that on Twitter earlier, and I was having a think as to who it could be. I wouldn't necessarily say underrated, but someone with a lot of potential. I think Raz Coleman. I think he's got the potential to unlock a good few levels.
Yeah.
So that's the only real answer I can come up with, because he's got all the tools. He's strong, he's powerful, he's quick.
Yeah.
He's got a hell of a strike on him. He's got, Jules will tell you, when he hits a ball, he hits it true.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of the tools to really kick on.
Do you know what? It's weird for me, actually, because in normal circumstances, we might go in the bar after the game. You get a vibe of what fans are talking about. During the game, you'll get the fans singing a certain player's song most of the time. You get to feel who the fans' favourites are when the fans are there. So personally speaking, I don't really know who is highly rated and who isn't from the supporters, to be honest.
That's a fair point, actually. Yeah.
So I can only say who I feel is a massive part of our team, and that's Ty in the middle, Ty Rodney. I think when he's not there, you really do notice he's not there.
Yeah.
That guy is a machine. He can run and run and run and run. And what a guy as well.
Yeah.
Love him to bits, mate.
Yeah. And again, I think last season when we didn't go off to the greatest start, the first 10, 12 games, he was standout player then. And obviously he got injured and then it didn't really happen for him the rest of the season. But yeah, I think I can only agree. Obviously, I've made some comments on commentary about his shooting, which I live to regret after he scored that winner against Dorking. But yeah, just on that actually I know I've spoken to you guys about this before, but also Gary, you've played football and you've played in front of big crowds and you've played, for big teams. How weird is it just not having anything on in the stands or anyone? Jules, so many fans have always said, you're great with the fans, opposition fans, and always have a bit of banter and stuff like that. How difficult has it been to really get into that mode of playing when there's no fans there?
Which at first, Seb, it was really strange because you'd concede a goal and your autopilot takes over and you wouldn't hear a cheer. So your first thought would be, it doesn't count, it's offside or something. Yeah. And then you soon realise, actually, there's no crowd here, so there's not going to be a cheer. It's strange. Yeah. As time's gone on, you've almost become used to it. But I really do miss the crowd. Listen, the banter side of it's one thing. I've tried to always try to get the opposition fans on my side a little bit, because I think if they have a bit of a laugh at you, it's better than them slagging you off for 90 minutes. Do you know what I mean? So I've tried to engage a little bit with them and get them on side. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, Seb. But in terms of just the atmosphere in a ground, whether it be 2,000 or 30,000, but it's not been the same. It really hasn't. But like I say, the circumstances have taken over with that one.
Like I said, you hear Gary a bit more. You
can pretend you don't hear the gaffer sometimes. If you didn't hear your gaffer on that one.
Yeah, exactly. And especially. So I was just going to say, Jules, you were obviously, and Dean, you've both been captains at some point this season because of various reasons. Obviously, Charlie and Luke not always being available. And again, I think Gary mentioned that the other day. You could argue that we haven't been at full strength for a sustained period of time if you're not with either Charlie out, Luke out, or Terrell out, or there's been. But when you're captain, what difference does it make to you?
For me personally, not much.
Yeah.
I still do the same things. I still talk the same amount. I still give as much effort as I can. It's some players love having the armband on. Some players don't mind it. Some people don't want it. But for me, it's a nice accolade to be given the armband. Don't get me wrong. You enjoy it at the time. But I don't, for me personally, it doesn't affect the way I play or change how I think about things during the game or anything like that.
Yeah. Jules, are you the same?
On a personal one, when the gaffer named me captain for the Hunger for the Way game, that was a real nice moment for me personally, because I always try and lead by example. I try and live as professional as possible and do the right things around the place so the younger lads can pick up on bits and pieces and how I operate and how I train and how I do things. And that won't change whether I'm captain or whether I'm not. I'm trying to help people regardless of that. But on a personal one, when the gaffer gave me the R-band, that was the first time when I felt like that made me feel really nice. The gaffer looks at me as someone who can lead his team, and that was nice. But I will definitely echo what Dino said. It doesn't change the way I play at all.
Yeah,
it's just not. It was a nice personal feeling, and we've got probably 5 or 6 captains in our squad. To be fair,
yeah, Gary says that all the time. Yeah, and it's true, isn't it? It is true. I think sometimes you can tell that, like you said, it's all about backing people up. And when you've got Sam Cox's, Charlie, Luke, there's a lot of chat. I noticed a bit more up front, and you hear it. You hear him, and you hear other players. There's constant talking, isn't there? There's constant communication between the team and the players. That's something I've noticed, because you don't normally hear that. Even if there is only 600, 700 at the Bev, you don't normally hear that. But when you are there on your own, it's quite good to hear people what they're saying, really.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to think you might still hear me, Seb, when we get 600-700 in there, mate.
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so. And talking to some of those players that like to or speak up or don't speak up, but there's a couple of questions from the players which I hope that if they're family friendly. But Jake has said, "What's your most special save, Jules? Is this special save a joke? Is it something you can say on the podcast, or should we move on?"
I can say we get given targets. We get given little targets, points, clean sheets, wins, little assists, goals. We get given targets, individual targets and collective targets. So the gaffer said about a special save. and I've made like a couple of saves towards the start of the season, and the gaffer's never given me a little green tick for a special save. So me and Jake, I think Jake got on my side a little bit. And Smallsy, to be fair, he started backing me up saying, "Crikey, he's made a few special saves, gaffer. Like, we've got to give him one sooner or later."
Yeah.
And then I think it was Hunger for the Way with about 7 or 8 minutes to go. I've made the save with my foot.
Yeah.
And the gaffer gave it to me, and Jake was really pleased for me that I'd finally made my special save.
But saying that, those again, it's something I've been privy to, luckily enough. But that sort of personal mini target thing, it's something that Gary uses a lot, isn't it? And he's always used it. And it does seem to be working, if you know what I mean. You know, it's
good, Seb. Honestly, like we had our little joke about it then, but it's nice when you get a message through after a certain amount of games and you've fulfilled them targets. Yeah. It's quite a nice little thing. I've got my clean sheets, we've got our wins, we've got our points, I've got my special saves.
Yeah.
So I'm happy. Now, it's nice that you get a little target, and I've never really been one to set targets before a season, like an amount of clean sheets or whatever, but since I've been working with a gaffer, I liked it, to be honest. It was good.
Yeah.
Also, Seb, going off ex-players' questions, as Alan had a little dig at me earlier and said that he's not really often saying I do some clever things. Ask him Christian Smith's question, if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah. So Christian Smith's question is, ask Jules what an achievement is, and then the story behind the question. Is this family friendly? That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, hope.
Yeah, it's family friendly.
Again, family. Listen, before we answer the question, you're opening up a can of worms here, mate. Okay, so listen, Seb, the gyms are shut. I like to try and keep myself fit, okay? So I bought a bike, got myself a road bike. You know, all of a sudden I've become lycra'd up, the glasses. Oh, I've gone all in, Seb. I feel like I'm Lance Armstrong riding along the road. Yeah. So Smudge, Christian Smith, he's brilliant. He knows what he's talking about. So he's been my go-to guy. I've messaged him 24 hours a day, mate. What's this? What's that? Do I need the shoes, the helmet? What do I need here and there and everything? So he's helping me out. So we've downloaded this app which tracks your distance covered, your speeds, all that kind of stuff. And I'm doing my rides, and it keeps coming up with, you've got a new achievement. You've got a new achievement with these little medals next to it. So me being me, I've asked him the question without really thinking about it. I said, Smudge, what's an achievement? And he just replied with, Jules, think about the question you've just asked me and answer it yourself, and just loads of laughing faces. You know, it was one of them think before you speak sort of moments, said, really. Yeah. There you go.
And
Keep a moment.
And like football dressing rooms, you never let, you
never live it down, mate. It takes months and months and months. Yeah, exactly.
No, exactly. And I think, Dean, I've been asked to ask you about why you're called Trigger on the same vein. Is that something that you haven't been able to, one thing that happened that you haven't been able to live down?
Do you know what? It was Billy Bricknell at Billericay.
Yeah.
It was similar to Jules, what Jules just said. We was in the changing room I can't remember what game it was or where we were, but we was in the changing room and someone said something and I've replied without thinking, and it was a daft response.
Yeah.
And he's gone, and Billy's just turned around and went, all right, Trigger. And ever since that moment, this just stuck. So yeah, Billy Bricknell's to blame for that.
A different club, a different experience, and it carries on, doesn't it, in football? Yeah, it's such a small world. But taking it back to a positive, obviously, we don't know what's going to happen over the next few weeks or months, but in an ideal world, would you like to carry on what you're doing? And Gary was very much of turning the page and moving on and trying to build another team that he's built over the last couple of seasons. But I'm not asking you to promise or anything like that. But in an ideal world, you would like to continue playing football for Hampton and Richmond Borough Football Club. Is that right for both of you?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Go on, Jules.
Yeah, sorry, Dino. Yeah, no, 100%. Seb, listen, I'm quite an opinionated person. When I'm sad, everybody knows I'm sad. And when I'm happy, everyone knows I'm happy. Yeah. And to be honest, mate, I've absolutely loved being at this football club. The boys, the management, yourself, the chairman, the people that work there, Tracy. Listen, I don't live far. I live around the corner. Every now and then I'll be going past with a family and the two little boys want to go in and see the ground.
Yeah.
They'll go in. I've not been there long. It's only been a short period of time that I've been there, but I really feel a sense of love to the place, to be honest with you. It sounds a bit cheesy, Seb, I know that, but I love it there, mate. I really do. And I love what we're trying to achieve, to be honest. It's exciting. So from my point of view, if the gaffer, of course, if he wants me, I'd love to stay. Yeah.
Cool. Dean?
Yeah. And like I say, ever since Gaffer brought me back to Hampton, like pre-season of the season before last, it was just, we were starting to achieve something. COVID stopped us from getting in the playoffs that year. Again, this year, we're flying. Got a great bunch of players and we could achieve something. And yeah, it'll be nice to stay and hopefully finish off what we've started 3 years later.
Yeah, third time lucky is what I said to Gary the other day. Yeah, in our centenary season would be a nice time to do it. Gary McCann is obviously a big part of the success of all this. And Dean, you've played with him for 2 seasons now. Jules, you've played with him for a season. And you've played with different managers and different levels and different types of managers. He's very different from, I imagine, from someone like Dev or someone like that. Or obviously, Jules, you played Billericay and actually Dean as well with Mr. Tamplin and people like that. But how good is Gary as a manager at this level and for this club?
I would say, Seb, the biggest thing for me that he's got is I know that when we go on that pitch, you want to run for a brick wall for him.
Yeah.
And I know that's an old saying for managers, you run for a brick wall for your manager, but we really do. Do you know what I mean? Listen, all the pre-season work we did, the tactical stuff, all that kind of stuff, great. Yeah, okay, brilliant. But for me, the biggest thing he's got is he gets you to a place where you really do want to run for a brick wall for him. And we've got that with everybody, I would say. There's not one player that I don't think would say the same, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Dean, you'd agree, I imagine?
Totally agree.
Think about contracts next season, but no.
Yeah. Best manager I've ever played with.
No, but I think that's the thing. You can have a laugh with him, I think.
Seb, he makes an environment where you look forward to come to training. Do you know what I mean? There's been, I love my football, Seb, don't get me wrong, but there's times and you think, training tonight. But with here, it's not the case. You look forward to going, and that's the environment he creates with the personnel he brings in and all that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, like I say, I really have loved it, mate.
Brilliant. Yeah, we were talking last Thursday, actually, funny enough, like me, Jules, Gaffer and Fabs were stood there and we were just having a little chat. And it was funny because when I left Billericay and then obviously went to Kingstonian was probably the worst football I've played in my career. It just could not get going. And then obviously Gaffer's rung me, signed me and said, look, I want to get you back to a place where you're playing football again. And I even said it to Gaffer last week. I said, you play your best football when you're really enjoying yourself and when you've got no stress and you know that you've got a manager that just wants to win. And it's infectious. And like Jules says, when you go onto the pitch, you feel it and you'll give that extra 10% for the manager. And yeah, that for me has been the main thing. He's made me enjoy my football again. And I'd like to think I'm playing some of my better football than I have in a long time.
Yeah, I would definitely back that up. Both of you have been a credit to the team this year and in your performances and on and off the pitch. One more question at the end, but a bit of a fun thing. You guys obviously live close to each other, so you end up driving to various games, and I think you take it in turns to give each other a lift. Is that right? Or
Seb, he's taking the biscuit a little bit. I drive them far too much, mate.
Okay, there you are then.
Seb, it was my drive last week at Ebbsfleet, and Jules went, I'm at work, so I might be a bit late. I've got all my stuff in my car.
Yeah.
Just jump in mine, it'll be easier. I was like, all right, cool. I'll drive to Concord, and it got called off. I was like, yes.
Exactly. That's what I was getting at. Those sort of things. Exactly.
I'll drive us to training next time, Jules. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. I must say thank you very much to Dean and Jules for giving up their time on a Tuesday night, and they can go and watch some, I think, the Champions League or whatever's on now. But I think I speak for all Hampton Richmond Borough fans, whatever this season or however it does end, and let's hope it does end to some point or we reach a conclusion soon, one way or another. But yeah, thanks very much for your performances this season. I know a lot of fans haven't been able to be in the ground and in the bar afterwards. I think that's one of the beauties of Hampton and Richmond that I always found, just going in the bar afterwards and chatting to yourself, Dean, in years gone by. Jules, fans haven't had the chance to do that yet. And yeah, you might regret that in come October, November next year when they're telling you off for doing something wrong. But thanks very much, both of you. And it's really appreciated. Thanks again for this season and what will be, and hopefully we'll go again next season. But you've listened to the third episode of the Radio Beaver podcast. If you want to donate to help this club in this very difficult time, then hrbfc.live is the link to go to. Hopefully, we'll have some news very soon about what is happening with the season and what we will do. But one thing we will have news about is our centenary season celebrations, which I've got a meeting tomorrow with various people. And if you've got any ideas, suggestions, hit me up on media@hamptonfc.net as well. That's what we've got to look forward to. We've got to be positive and hope for the best, but make sure there's a football club here for the 100th season as it has been there for the 99th season. But Jules and Dino, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Perfect. Cheers, Seb.
Anytime, mate.
See you later. And yeah, thanks very much. And next week, we might get some fans on board for the next episode of the Radio Beaver podcast. So if you want to get involved, give us a shout and we'll try and get a fan's perspective of what has been a very strange season. But all the best. And yeah, let's hope we hear some news in the next few days that will give clarity to everyone involved. Cheers. Thanks.